she will battle tricks forever and like get super mad and just like kind of like have like a really intense experience trying to like get something. But that's just the kind of person she is. Like she's just super intense with everything.
So I've seen her punch the board, grip tape side, bloody, punch her face, like, and everyone's just like, she's so important because she gives female skateboarding like this perspective of passion and just rawness.
She might be small, but she is the most intimidating, scariest person I've for sure ever filmed with. But I don't want to paint this picture that she's like a monster, because when you meet her, she is like one of the sweetest people you will meet, but she has this like switch in her. To me, Alexis is like the greatest female skater.
I heard you don't have the part of your story that's like they got into drugs and then...
I never got into any of that stuff. I've never been drunk, in fact. I choose sleep deprivation. It really makes you hallucinate well.
I mean, she's the best. I grew up watching her, and the stuff that she's done and continues to do is just like amazing.
Alexis and I have like this mutual respect for each other, coming from like the same sort of time frame in skating, though she's 10 years younger than me at least.
She's like everything that so many of us aspire to be in skateboarding, like the artist and the architect and just like ripping for decades.
I think what's even more inspiring is now that she's really accomplished so much in so many spheres, now it's almost like unknown territory.
Hey, what's up? Welcome back to Epically Latered. We're in Montclair, New Jersey at a skate park that Alexis Sablone designed. It's actually really sick and really conceptual. You can tell people love this park. It looks really fun. I'm really excited to have an episode with her. I feel like she's just had this career where I think there's just more going on with her than just skateboarding. And I don't want to say underrated, but just for a long time, people didn't like think of her. And then it's like, and you watch the footage, you watch her parts, you just see 20 years of incredible skating and someone who gives it 100%, like gnarly skating, whether it's board graphics or a skate shop or designing a shoe or building a skate park. I mean, she's just so much more than a skater. And so that's it. This is the Alexis Sablone episode, and I hope you enjoy it.
Okay, we're in Brooklyn, and it's my studio.
As a pro skater, what do you need a studio for?
I'm a designer and artist, and I'm always making stuff. I'm from Old Saybrook, Connecticut. It's kind of a small town. I started skating mid-90s. I just saw some kids in a parking lot one night. Had never really seen skateboarding before that and was immediately like interested. When I got a skateboard, I was 10. We like went to the mall and I got my ears pierced at Claire's, and then we went to the skate shop and I picked up my skateboard. Yeah, my parents got divorced when I was 2, so mostly at my mom's.
And there wasn't anything like, oh, skateboarding's for boys.
I wore, I don't know, like G.I. Joe underwear and stuff. I don't know, it wasn't, I think that by that time it was already kind of like, they just knew how I was. I think I'm an introvert, I don't know, I was like shy, but I think that's part of why I gravitated towards skateboarding. Like it was something that I felt like I could work on. I don't know, just something I became obsessed with. There's this skate park that was like an hour away that also was a skate shop called Eastern Pulse. So I went there one weekend and that was when I met Trevor.
How do I know Alexis? She's probably my oldest friend at that time. I think the fact that she was a female definitely like confused people almost more than anything. I don't know if she remembers it like this, but if we would show up somewhere where there was other skaters, you could tell right away that everyone was gonna stop and watch to see like what was gonna happen, you know?
I went to Woodward and I was in an instruction group with Zared Bassett, Eli Reed, Jeremy Rogers. People would see me around, like when I was just skating, they'd be like, oh my God, that's the girl, because there was like 600 guys.
And she was really, really good. You could tell at that age that she had something special.
She was down with all the pros right away. Everybody loved her. She had that thing, she had charisma.
there was no girl skaters that I knew of, only Alyssa Stima on video.
New York Mixtape was my first video, and then shortly thereafter, Toy Machine Welcome to Hell. Alyssa, I think I was already just like a little bit of like a competitive little shit or something, and I was like, I'm gonna be that good. Like I don't know, I just like had this weird attitude that at the time I refused to like list her as my favorite. But I think she impacted me the most.
I think when you had Toy Machine Welcome to Hell, it seemed like you were the only girl.
Yeah.
Were you waiting on someone new to come?
Well, I wouldn't say waiting on somebody new, but fearing somebody new to come, you know, because I didn't think there was room enough for more women or, you know, diversity in skating, you know what I mean? I thought like, oh, if somebody else comes and they rip harder than me, then I'm just gonna like fade away or something like that, you know what I mean? But yeah, I was definitely stoked on her when I first met her. She was hella cool, super shy. But when the PJ Ladd video came out, I was like semi-terrified because she was so good.
I mean, back then there wasn't even room for that. So I mean, she's not wrong. Now there's room for like one girl on every team. That's how far we've come. She's like the original. No one can ever duplicate that.
I remember she had a sequence in the mag. She like kickflip front 50'd this rail. And I remember, and I went and looked at that rail and I was like, there's no way I could do this trick. But I was like, man, she's sick.
My older sister was starting college in Boston, and I like still had this piece of paper with like Jeremy Rogers' number on it. And so I brought it and I like called him from a payphone when we got to Boston, and I was like, hey, it's Alexis, I'm in Boston. And so we met up and he brought me to Coliseum, and that's where I like met everyone. That's the day I met PJ also, and that's where that started. And after that, I got close with PJ, and he would like pick me up from school every Friday and like drive me to Boston, and I would skate Boston every weekend. So it should have been like a 4-hour drive to Boston, but PJ drove like a absolute crazy person, and he like would like sink way in his chair and it would look like he was asleep, but he had this minivan and he'd be going like 120 miles an hour the entire time. Like the whole van would be shaking. So we made it there really quick.
So I met Alexis, I think we skated for Element. So there was a connection there. We skated a lot. I got my license and was just driving all around, skating with everybody. That's, you know, we filmed a lot of that video because of that reason. I was just motivated to kind of drive everywhere, skate, bring people skating and bring the crew together. Right away, you knew she was gonna take it far. You knew she was gonna be one of the greats.
I think that they just fed off each other, and that's what I did when I was with PJ. He had a fire like nobody else, and when you're around that, he didn't have to do anything. It was that he skated so hard in front of you, he made you feel ashamed for not even trying. I think she got even better quickly being around him.
Couldn't have even named a lot of the tricks for you back then. You know, I was just like, what am I looking at? This is crazy.
Who made this video?
It was the owners of Coliseum, Matt and Artie, and then Dave Corden was the filmer.
I just wanted to film, you know, and PJ wanted to skate. It was just like the greatest time of your life, really. So Alexis was just intense. Like the perfect example is that footage of her skating the Ringe and Latin stairs, and she's just fucking slamming. And you're like, yo, are you right? She's like, oh, I'm fine. And she just fucking runs up the stairs to do it again. And you're just like, shit. Like I never met like many people like this. And fuck being a girl and shit. Like it was just like, holy shit. Like this is gnarly.
Alexis was tenacious. She started trying a trick. She was gonna get it. I really respected that.
It feels like it was like the first viral video, kind of. Like, remember the tape said 1 million copies sold? I'm sure they didn't sell 1 million copies, but 1 million people saw that video, for sure.
I first heard about Alexis. I was skating in my front yard. I think I was like 10 years old. And my brother's best friend, we lived on a cul-de-sac. My brother's best friend also skated and got PJ Ladd's Wonderful Horrible Life. He just came out one day and he was like, have you heard of a person named Alexis Sablone? And I was like, no. And he's like, oh, there's another girl skater out there. And I was like, well, there's not, like, whatever. And then he was like, all right, really quick, just like come. He like fast forwarded the VHS to her part, and I was like super blown away. That like changed the way I thought about the world, just because like Alyssa was the only girl skater I'd ever heard of.
I knew we were filming a video, but it didn't feel like that. I was just like, wow, I'm like with a crew of people and we're like going to cities and we're filming at night and we're like working on something, but it hadn't really, like I wasn't thinking about like the end product and that this was gonna be like a video in the world.
I was like, oh wow, like she's got like flip tricks, she's got like a mean flick. I also loved the song.
I know that I forget what rap song it was, but I was like, oh, I have a song I really want. I didn't see my part until the premiere, and then it was like, hey Mambo, and I was like, what is this? Like, hey Mambo, na 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 na. I don't know what it's called.
When that came out, that was like waves through the skate world, worldwide. Like it was all eyes on that video and specifically PJ's part. It was just groundbreaking for the time.
She rode for the firm briefly. I don't know if you remember that.
We're right at the end of making the firm video, Can't Stop. And Clairville was filming most of it, and he filmed some stuff of her. And then he was saying, oh, this girl rips, da-da-da. And I was like, well, that would be cool to put her in the video, blah, blah, blah. And so I don't think we ever got anything more. I know she came out to LA for a minute. We were very close to not doing the firm once the video came out. She was an awesome skater, man. She still is.
So yeah, I skated for them for a bit, and I think I was still skating for them when it like went out of business.
Opportunities were different for females in skating back then, and she didn't have the same opportunities that PJ and those guys had.
I think the Coliseum video happened, and it was this huge deal, and like everyone got swooped up and like moved away, and I just remember thinking like, what are they gonna do out there? I don't wanna live in California and like skate all day. Like, I don't know, I wanna skate when I wanna skate, and I really wanted to go to college. I wanted to like study architecture. I wanted to live in New York.
I knew that the girl skateboarding thing was gonna be big at the time. I just knew it intuitively, but it just, the sort of industry aspect hadn't quite evolved to a certain point that I think Alexis was thinking at. One of the things about being too ahead of your time.
I still did things very old school style, like Stacy, where like you were pro for 2 years and won every contest before you got a board. And that just wasn't happening at that time.
No one had mentioned like the idea of going pro or anything like that, like giving me a board or like paying me. I think I just felt like, okay, I just need to get better. That's what's happening. Like, that's why no one's offering me this. It honestly wasn't until like years later, it really took there being like a generation behind me and like seeing like these other girls that then it's easier to recognize in someone else. Like, these people are really talented. Like, why are they not getting these opportunities? And to feel kind of like bitter or angry on like their behalf. I think like that happened first. And then I was like, oh, like, yeah, wait, what about me? Like, wait, that's actually kind of fucked up. Visibility matters in the end, you know? And if you don't see that something's possible, you don't even like know to be asking for it. Oh, yeah, I'm actually crazy with models. Like this model, which is barely anything but a box, but I just like build models and stare at them for way too long, and this is this space here. Because I had to build all these shelves and like this loft, and when I got here, it was just this space, and I like couldn't decide on like how I wanted to do things. So I swear for like a few days, I was just like with this little person, which is basically me, and I was just like standing here, like looking at it, trying to like figure out what to do.
It just seemed like she was always gonna like go to college, go to school, do that sort of route.
School definitely like started to take over, especially as I got more into architecture. I had an architecture studio every semester, and that was like all I thought about. This is still a weird theme in my life. Like when I have projects, I get really like fixated and will just like not sleep for days, and it's really bad, and it's something I'm like trying to get better at. I had like a blanket under my desk in the studio. And so skating happened, like if I had a review and I had like a few days where I didn't have something due.
She just has this really fascinating mind where you have this like mathematical mind, but then you have this artistic mind. She'll go to bed like late, wake up and just start like illustrating. I personally don't know many people who are that intelligent, but she is like as much on paper intelligent as she is like emotionally intelligent. She's a genius.
She was still skating on the same level the whole time, you know? So I think there's this perception that she like fell off and then made this comeback, but there was no like, nothing changed. It was just like, she put her energy elsewhere.
It was after college that I started skating contests because I was like, I don't want a regular job and I just want to be an artist. And so I was like working at restaurants in the city and trying to just make my projects and realizing how exhausting that was and hard it was. Somehow I learned about like Maloof Money Cup and I was like, what's Maloof Money Cup? And it was this contest and they're like, yeah, the women's prize purse is like, I think it was like 25 grand. And I was like, 25 grand? Like that's life-changing money. I need to get into that contest. So I went out there, I got to skate.
Okay, so this is my favorite part because in the back of my mind, I was always like wondering, like, who is Alexis Sablone? Like, she's not at any of these contests. She's like not in any of these videos. Like, I don't see her or hear about her or what she's up to anymore. And then it was Maloof Money Cup. And at that time, it was like still like dudes would skate like during the women's practices and all this shit. And everybody was like always so cranky about that. And I was like, who's this fucking guy? Honestly, because she had like a short hair and like whatever, she just, whatever, was ripping. And somebody was like, no, it's Alexis Sablone. And I was like my whole fucking world exploded because I was like, oh my fucking, like, wow, for real? So I was like so starstruck.
To them, I just like disappeared and then like came back with like a shaved head. And they were like, who the fuck is this person?
We've been all over the world together, skating in competitions and then like doing trips in between. Yeah, she's like one of my best friends.
I mean, Alexis is like one of the trailblazers of women's skateboarding. In terms of street, I really just had like Alexis and Alyssa to look up to. And they're both from the East Coast. So to me, I was like, oh, that's like close, you know? She's a fucking good skateboarder, you know? Like, and is down to like try anything. I mostly, once I started getting to her, she was doing the contest thing because that's what women had to do back then to be a pro skater, skate all those contests.
I didn't do contests because I thought skateboarding was about competition. I just did it to try to get checks. There was like an X Games and everyone was like, you gotta get into that. And somehow, I don't really remember how I got in again as an alternate. And this was also the first X Games that the women's division got the same prize purse as the men's. And I got second place and I won like 20 grand. And I went back to New York and I was like, I'm rich. I think the next X Games I won, I was skating for Organica. They were like, we want to turn you pro. And I was filming street stuff then too. I moved to LA and I made it like 9 months. And I was just like going crazy. And that's kind of around there, that's when I decided to go to grad school because I was just like, what am I doing out here? They said they wanted to turn me pro and then like that never materialized. They're like, yeah, we're gonna wanna get you in next week for meetings. And we could talk about the marketing. And then like, I remember like trying to text them after that and it just, I don't know, someone changed their mind and it just like was not happening.
Whoa. What do you guys say about that?
That's yours, kid. That's yours. That was it. That was it. I've been looking forward to that.
Yeah, I mean, Alexis Sablone is a symptom of what happens to a lot of women skateboarders. It's when skateboarding is hot and brands have money, you know, they add a bunch of girls, and when things start to get rough, the first thing to go is the girls. And Alexis Sablone has been, you know, the recipient of that end of the stick over and over again in her career. And instead of hyper-focusing on skateboarding, she is such a diverse person that she can go to school and go do her artwork and, you know, get her master's.
Yeah, I wanted to go to MIT the most, so I moved to Boston. It was a master's in architecture. Like really not sleeping during that one. That was like 3.5 years of just zombie. I didn't want to work as a traditional architect. I think that's kind of what brought me back to skating, or pushed me to think like maybe I can make skating into a profession, because I need to make a living somehow. And this is like, at this point, this is ridiculous. Like I have to be able to get paid somehow through skateboarding. There's gotta be a way.
Early on, I kept being like, Grant, I'm telling you, like, we have to put Alexis on weekend. She didn't have a board sponsor. I think I kind of like blind dated them together, you know?
I just knew Alexis as this legendary skater girl from PJ Ladd's Wonderful Horrible Life. And then I started skating with Trevor. He introduced me to Alexis. From there, we just started filming. I just became friends with her quickly, and then just somehow got her to ride for my little skateboard company. She was even better at skating now, even though no one had seen anything of her in years.
I remember talking to Grant about it, and he was like, wait, she's not pro already? I'm like, no, she's never had a board. And he was like even confused by it, you know?
We brought Alexis in as pro skater and an art director. And honestly, we technically turned her pro, which is insane.
You know, in basketball, it's really clear. It's like you're in the NBA or something, and in skateboarding, it's like, well, I guess I've made money off skating for years now through contests, but until you actually have your name on a skateboard, you're not pro, you know? Of course, it meant a lot. I think that I have a hard time, like, just appreciating stuff in the moment. Like, for me, I was so stressed about putting out footage to line up with the board coming out. Like, once the footage came out and I wasn't, like, losing my mind over that, I was able to be really happy about it and feel like I finally got this thing. Like, I did like art direction for weekend, so I'd do like all the board graphics, and then I was doing animations and stuff. So yeah, I felt like really good there. I think it started over time. Like, it definitely complicated my relationship with Grant, because he was my boss. He was like filming me.
I would go as far as saying Alexis is scarier than Ave. Quote me on that. Except I don't really know Ave.
I don't know. I think I've realized, like, I get really intense when I'm filming stuff, and when things are not working out the way I want, and when I'm physically like getting hurt, I turn into like arguably the worst version of myself. But because of the complexity of our relationship, and because, you know, it's like you work a million hours trying to draw this thing, and then they're like, I don't know, like, maybe it should be a different color, and you're like, I hate you.
If I told Alexis, like, you got the next one, she would turn around and go, Sp.
So I feel like there was just a lot of like pent up stuff. And so then when we were also trying to film together, I think that like maybe unfairly came out.
I'm sure if we didn't mix like the art with the skating, she would still be skating for us, but it just got too mixed up there. I've seen her kick a photographer out of a spot. I think he like tried to give her a little turn your shoulders a little bit more or something like that, and she just asked if he could just leave.
Dude, that's so tight. I wish I had the balls to do that.
It really depends on the person and how they're delivering what they're saying. But like when you're trying something and someone's like, maybe you should try it this way, and it's not someone that you have that relationship with, it's like, I feel like then it's also a whole flood of like gender, baggage, like all this stuff where you're like, don't fucking tell me how to skateboard. Like, then that is not a good situation.
Obviously, I'm sure everyone's heard, once she gets into a battle, a trick battle, you just keep a straight face and don't even smile or do anything, because you're like, she's pissed.
I filmed her switch flip this 3-block in Spain. That was a bloody battle.
I think it ties back to the kind of like being a perfectionist and feeling like deep down like I'm capable of like doing this. And then when the process starts to prove something else to you, you've like put so much in, and you're like physically like falling apart, and you're like trying to mentally stay in the place to like do something that you know you can do, but like with each passing attempt, you're like suffering, and you're like, I I don't know how much more I can do. But you're trapped because you trapped yourself there and you're like, I'm gonna prove this to myself.
She slips out, hits her face. She like screams, picks up her board and just walks back up and tries it again.
But like that one actually landed with me rolling away, which is you just like black out and suddenly you're rolling away and you can't believe it. And it's like the best feeling in the world because you're free.
Wait, so this was already a tennis court that people skated, or how did it become?
Yeah, there were like these 2 tennis courts. This one was just an empty court and that one was like a DIY. And the city was kind of like, oh, it'd be great to get something a little more permanent in here. And there wasn't really the budget to do a big skate park or something. So I was approached and it was like, do you want to do a series of like sculptures? I guess the goal was just playful and like open to a range of skill levels and ages, and then kind of like not immediately clear how you want to skate everything. Trevor's coming to meet us. He's actually never been here.
You're still trying to wake up.
I know, I'm freezing.
Yeah.
And my toe hurts. Yes! That's how I imagined it.
That's pretty sick. This came out good.
You know, I feel like usually in like skate parks, they talk about like flow and you can like find routes, you know, and like find lines, but it's not about like, to me at least, like seamlessly being able to like keep your speed and like skate the whole park at once.
I think she's trying to basically prove a point that like you can have artistic conceptual skate park design while offering something that's actually very skateable and very usable versus like what that world looks like where they just drop like the same quarter pipe or ledge into a park.
Obviously, like the best spots were designed like without the intention of skating, and nevertheless, like skaters find ways to skate it. But it takes hunting through a city to like find those opportunities. And then a skate park, it's like all of them have just been neatly put in one spot for you conveniently, and they're all perfect. And so to me, it's like interesting to explore something that's kind of in between.
No.
And then when she got on Converse, we started going on trips together and really got to know each other better.
I had been at Converse for a couple of years at that time. I called Alexis up to come into a meeting. I was like, hey, this is what we can do for you. We've known each other a long time. Like, I'm 100% behind this. And like, if you're into it, like, now's the time, let's do it. She had expressed wanting to do a pro shoe. My details might be like a little hazy, but this is essentially how it went. It was like, we flew to New York for the meetings. We sat down, we showed her this sort of cup sole technology we had. We had it on like a 3D printed insole. She went home, stayed up the whole night, and made this sample of the shoe out of paper mache and masking tape, came back the next morning for the meeting and just put the shoe on the table and was like, make this. And it's crazy, when you look at that model and you look at the shoe that came out, it's exactly what she put on the table.
That was the first. That was when I was trying to figure it out. And this is the one I sent them. You know, you only get so many rounds of like sampling, and I'm just really picky with everything. I mean, you can draw things in 2 dimensions and it should be the same thing, but there's like more room for it to come out different in the sample. It's a crazy thing to be able to get a signature shoe, and then there aren't that many skaters that get them, and then there are, of course, way fewer non-guy skaters that get them.
I don't think the Olympics was ever like a dream of hers, but it was just like, all right, these contests are here, they want me to do it, might as well enter them and see what happens.
We all came to watch the Olympics at a bar in Oakland, and we all came to cheer on Alexis Sablone because we knew it was going to be probably the last time we saw one of our own in the Olympics. We watched her miss the podium by like 1/10 of a point. She kickflipped front 50-50, this big ledge in the center, and she didn't get her front truck on, and that was the difference between being a medalist and being an Olympian. And I just felt like it was such a metaphor for skateboarding in general. Like, our people, you know, the ones that we want to win, they're never going to be on the podium, right? Especially moving forward in the Olympics, it's going to be hard to see a skater make it that far because it's such a different route. But seeing Alexis Sablone was a huge moment for everybody in the Bay Area and all the queer skaters, and everybody was just like screaming. I remember Chandler like jumping up and down and cheering, and like we were like, go, bitch. Like, we were all so excited to see her.
I don't know. I think the Olympics, much like X Games did in a weird way, has introduced and legitimized skateboarding in places where their local governments maybe wouldn't have embraced it.
I remember when we were kids, we were like, we love skateboarding because it will never be in the Olympics. That's actually something we thought and said. It's just an opportunity, but it does take up a lot of your time to be able to compete well in it, that it sacrifices a lot of the stuff that you probably wanted it to be when you're young.
I only did the Olympic pathway once. I remember she was filming and putting out videos and doing the Olympics at the same time. And I thought that was so incredible because it's hard to do both.
Because of the Olympics and because of the way skateboarding has been like changing and growing and becoming like more mainstream and all these things that are kind of like, oh no, don't do that to skateboarding. But at the same time, the flip side of it is like, well, now I'm actually getting a check because now there's like all these bigger companies involved and they're like, wait, it's weird that why do we have a team of 20 men? Like, that's weird. That looks bad, you know? And so suddenly there's like more opportunities. You spend all this time, years, and you give so much of yourself to skateboarding, and even like your friends and family that don't do it, like they don't get it, but they get the Olympics and that's exciting to them. And you're like, that's cool. For me, it was just like, I don't care if this is like not cool. This is cool to me. And like, this is a crazy opportunity that like very few people get. And I've been doing contests. So like, what's the difference?
Women's skateboarding is probably the most exciting part of skateboarding today. They have brought such a cool energy with a different type of camaraderie. It doesn't have that same kind of like chest thumpy kind of thing. Like, they're competitive, but in I don't know, it's unique.
I have footage of her like talking shit to a cop on a horse in Miami. He's like 10 feet above her and she's just like not having it that he's kicking us out. She was kickflipping into the triangle that Alyssa ollied into.
It's just such a memorable trick. The spot's so memorable, the way it's filmed, you know, it's like, first you just see her, you don't even see the spot, and she's like pushing up, and then it like pans over and you see the gap in the triangle and she like ollies in, and like, I don't know, it's a memorable trick. I was on this trip, I think it was a weekend trip, and we were there and I was like, oh my God, like it was suddenly just like staring me in the face. And I was like, we're at the triangle. I have to do something here. Like, if there's one trick I can do, it's a kickflip. That would just be so cool. I mean, this is terrifying. That spot's really scary. I don't know, I felt like it connected me to her and like this thing, you know, something I watched when I was 10 years old.
She got a Thrasher cover recently.
Like, it's about fucking time. I don't know. But maybe that's a little negative. I'm just like, it's nice to see a variety of different people on covers of Thrasher and not just like the biggest fucking rail or whatever the fuck's going on.
We ran every photo of her we ever got, but that was under 10 photos. All the 2000s was run by videos and mags. And what fed the magazines was the videos. The interviews came from that, the covers. That was the big story. That was the big show. And if she wasn't front and center in that, you kind of forgot about people. It like didn't occur to me then, but we fucking blew it. I wish we would have done a better job of telling her story, getting her involved in the mag sooner, because she's obviously very special.
In retrospective, we could look at what should have been done, but while we're in it, we're all pretty much on the wrong side of everything, all screaming and yelling, but we're not able to point out what's not working until later. Collectively, we've done that as an industry.
I think Alexis has always stayed very true to who she is, but then she's also just like getting better in like her own way or in the best way.
I don't think skateboarding like owes anybody anything, but she definitely deserves everything that she's getting. And so the fact that she was able to sort of stick it out as long as she did, it's kind of strange, honestly. None of this stuff started happening for her until she was in her 30s, you know? But yeah, I think as far as like her place in skateboarding goes, she's like definitely has to go down as, I don't know, a legend. She probably hates that, but yeah, for sure.
That was kind of doubles, like this.